Hey everyone, Mike Klingler here, and just want to do, I think, a really brief review real fast just to show you guys that even if you think that you're losing money with your bot, you're not. And I understand because when I first got it, it took me a while to get what I'm going to show you, but it's really, really powerful. If you look at what I have right now, over here in the profit floating loss, this is in the earnings section. Over in the profit floating loss, it shows 0.0049 BTC. So in total, and I've only had this for like a week and a half, in total, that's how much BTC I've made. Not a lot, right? And someone might think, well, that's not a big deal. And even yesterday it was in the red, and it could drop back down in the red today a little bit. Like what I'm going to explain to you is how that has so little to do with what we're trying to do with the bot and how you can capitalize on this. By the way, before I go any further, this isn't a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I am not here to tell you what to do or to advise you on what to do. You need to get that from a professional. What I'm sharing with you is my experiences and to help you kind of grasp and understand how I'm using this tool and some discoveries that I've made that I think are going to be really helpful to you. And by no means is this video meant to be promotional. This is for just the purposes of those who already have the bot. Okay, so you look over here and it shows like a negative profit floating loss. That means if you add up the total amount that are in the red right now and the total amount that have been sold in the green, that's what I have. I actually lost this week, but I gained last week, so I'm still up a little bit with BTC. And someone might think, well, this isn't great results. Well, actually, it really is. Try to follow me here. This is huge. Okay, so let's say it's basically at break-even point right now. I'm 10 days in, and let's just say it's kind of floating around at the break-even point. Now, understand that the coin market hasn't really moved up yet, right? Like things have really settled down. Who knows? Maybe they'll go down more. But if you believe where the coin market's going to go, where the cryptocurrency market's going to go, a lot of the experts think Bitcoin's going to 115,000. Some people said 40,000. And the coin market usually follows it. Now, when the Bitcoin goes up at first, oftentimes the coin market lags behind. So that's why sometimes, like yesterday, I saw this over here in the red because Bitcoin took off, and this is trading against Bitcoin. And so, first of all, the first thing you need to get, this isn't the biggest point. I know some of you already got this, but the first thing you need to get is just because it looks like you're in the red, it's trading against Bitcoin. So you might actually have made a lot of money because the coins might have went up compared to the dollar or the fiat currency that you're trading in, depending on what country you're in. But it's trading against, you're trying to beat Bitcoin, and sometimes Bitcoin's going to take off like it did in the last couple of days, and the rest of the coins are kind of being left behind Bitcoin a little bit. They're going up, so you're making money, even though it shows in the red often in the bot. You're making money. And some people might say, well, why don't I just hang on to Bitcoin then? Because in the long run, historically, what we've seen is the coins catch up, and then they actually do far better than Bitcoin at times. And it's the at times that you're waiting to be able to have the bot sell for you because it's just waiting until it goes above 1%, sometimes way above 1%. I saw somebody sell with their bot at over 50%. It's waiting to sell when it's at an ideal time. Does it always work perfectly if it goes up and then down really fast? No, it might not catch it, but typically when it goes up over 1%, it's going to sell. And typically when we look historically, even though Bitcoin sometimes takes off and leaves the coins in the dust like it did in the last couple of days, historically the coins do catch up. And if you give it time, they're bouncing their little heads up above that green line and then down and then up and then down. And the bot's catching them every time they do. I had a lot. Check this out. This again, I haven't gotten to the biggest point, so stick with me here. The big deal to all of this. But I just want to show you the stuff that some of you don't know yet. Okay, so if I go to here and I go to one of my bots, like you see a lot of these are in red, but like just 2 days ago, they were almost all in red. Like every once in a while, one, and by the way, I do sell them. Like when I'm in here, I might just click real quick. You don't have to. I like to. But you see that like they pop their heads up above the green line. If I had left them alone, by the way, they might have gone way up. Uh, I'm just taking little amounts here and there where I can and trying to get it all green. And if it takes 6 months to get all green, that's fine. I'm going to come back to that point in a second because that's the big point. Here's another one, a lot more green here on this bot. But the other day they were all red, or recently I should say. What's today? So I guess I think it bought these. This one was bought yesterday. So, but when it first bought them, the first day they were mostly red. They slowly turned green. Let me show you an old one to make my point here. This one, a lot of you might remember, was almost all red, almost completely red. And now if you go through it, it's mostly green by a long shot. But there's some big losses here. I want to talk about that. That's not a big deal. Now, I'm going to come back to that. Hang with me here. But the first point I want you to get is, as time goes on, you're giving each one more time to pop its head above the green line, the 1%, where it's beat Bitcoin by 1%. Now, again, just because you're in the red doesn't mean, especially when you average it all out, doesn't mean, just because you're in the red doesn't mean you lost money. You just didn't grow as much as Bitcoin because you're trading against Bitcoin. That's the first point. Second point, because then people naturally say, well, then why don't I just hold Bitcoin? Like, if it's not beating Bitcoin, then what's the point? Because over time, you're giving it time. That's why these were mostly red. Now they're mostly green. If you give it time, it will pop its head above Bitcoin. It will beat Bitcoin, and that's when it sells. You just have to give it time. And even if it's 6 months, that's okay. Now let me get to my biggest point. Here's the biggest point. When we go back to earnings and we see that I'm only at 0.0053 in 10 days, I beat Bitcoin by 0.0053, and someone might say, well, that's not that big of a deal. Here's why it is a big deal. Because I still have, let's go back to my bots. Remember that. Let's just say it's break-even point, basically. Again, yesterday it was in the red. It might go back in the red. Like, let me show you why that doesn't matter so much. I'm going to show you what does matter. Let's look at how many, where is it? How many trades I have outstanding. Where is that? 1 second here. So when we look at, and now I can't find it. Hold on, guys. I thought it was right here where it's going to show me. You can tell how much I'm still getting used to this thing. I'm looking for where I can see how many trades I have. You know, like that are outstanding. Here it is. Okay. So, 755 orders total have been done. 214 are still open. So check this out. 541 have closed where I beat Bitcoin, but there's still 214 out, right? And right now I'm about at break-even point, right? Because we go back to earnings. I'm basically at break-even point. I've just barely beat Bitcoin so far, down for the week a little bit. If you're counting what's in the red and green, that's what the profit floating loss is. That's different, by the way, than down here. We see down here, if we just look at what I've sold, like it's all, profit, $366 US on this one, 235 on this bot. But when you go to earnings, this is showing the float. This means like the profit floating loss. This is showing what you've gained or lost compared to Bitcoin. Again, could still be up in dollar, but compared to Bitcoin, what I've gained or lost for the week, and lifetime over here on the right, and then down here is for last week. Last week I was up 0.0242. I beat Bitcoin. The bot beat Bitcoin last week. Then this week it's down a little bit. And in total, again, it's at about break-even point, let's say 0.0047 I made in Bitcoin from the bot. Okay, so let's just say it's break-even. People think, well, why is that a big deal? And then when it was down yesterday, it's so scary. I'll show you why it's not, why it's good. So when we go back to look at this, think of it this way. Right now, let's just say, I'm actually a little bit better, but let's just say in 10 days, I have the same amount of Bitcoin that I started with, okay? Which is about 2 Bitcoin. I haven't been trading with the full 2. I was real conservative, just started trading with the full 2. So I would have made more had I traded with the full 2, but let's just talk about it from the perspective of how many Bitcoin I have in there right now. I have 2 right now. I just started trading with 2. First I was trading with a little bit less than 1, but now I've got 2 in there. And so I made just barely any Bitcoin. Let's just say it's even just the same amount of Bitcoin that I started with 10 days ago, but I have 214 open orders still. I have 214 open orders. If you're playing the long game and you believe, like I do, I'm not telling you to believe this, you got to make your own decisions. But, I'm listening to the experts out there, and I'm looking at what's going on. I looked at what happened with the internet boom, and I believe, could be wrong, but I'm banking everything, because I didn't bank everything on the internet boom because I was scared. I didn't bank everything on trends and opportunities similar in the past that were scary and turbulent because it's scary and turbulent. And that's exactly why, now that I'm in my mid 40s and I've seen all that, I let all those things pass me by, or I dipped my toe in the water, for example, in the internet thing, and then I lost my butt in stocks. I lost my butt investing in silver. I've always been timid because I just got my butt kicked every time I did anything with investments. Well, now I'm all in. I learned my lessons. I'm all in. I'm seizing this. I'm not saying that's what you should do. That's what I'm doing. The reason why is just from seeing all those trends and everything. So I believe, to be really clear here, I believe that this is all going to boom. Could be wrong. That's what I believe. And if you believe that, then you want as many open orders as you can get. You want as many open orders. Doesn't matter that they're red, because right now the market is eensy small compared to where I believe and where many experts believe it's going to be. Just looking at cycles, looking at what the internet boom did, looking at what the railroad boom did in the 1800s, looking at every major boom that eventually went bust, but then went back, and like the internet did, like it went huge, mushroomed massively beyond what this is at, beyond, way beyond, exponentially further than this. Then it went bust. People made fortunes in that era. And then it climbed back up, right? Now we got Amazon and eBay and Uber. And that's what I believe is going to happen here, but even on a bigger scale. And we're here very, very early. So of course it's turbulent. Of course it's crazy. That's the point. And I'm going to stake everything here. I'm not going to miss another one. And so, because they don't come around very often. I'll be 60 or 70 by the time another one comes around based on cycles. So, and by the way, if you're 60 or 70, don't get down about that. Like, here's your chance. Here's your chance. Remember those old timers in the Wild West digging gold? Heck, man, if you can get it in your lifetime, it's worth it. That's my opinion. So here's the deal. You want as many open orders as you can get. You hearing me? You want as many open orders as you can get. If I have the same amount of Bitcoin tomorrow, but I have 216 open orders, that's a win. Next week, if I have the same amount of Bitcoin, maybe I even lost a little, but I have 300 open orders, if I can keep stacking the open orders, if I can keep growing the open orders, that's what I want. It's not about, at this time, it's not about making Bitcoin. You might even be down a little bit on Bitcoin sometime. What it's about is growing as many orders as you can have so that when this thing mushrooms and all of these go up, I've made bank. You understand? Imagine if I just keep playing. Again, check this out. Check this out. And it's an interesting concept, man. It's real. Check this out. Let's go back to my earnings. Let's just say I've gained a little Bitcoin, which is cool, right? But yesterday it was negative, so I just want to say, like, because it could go back into negative, the total profit floating loss. I want to say again, first of all, I might have still made money even if that goes red. And even when you look at your individual bots, like you see a lot of, like one of them's really red. Where's the red one? This one's, they're starting to turn green, aren't they? That's the point. But for a while, this one was red a lot, but even if there's a lot of red, you got to understand you still probably made money on a lot of these in terms of fiat currency, because this is just down compared to Bitcoin and it's gone up. So the coins have gone up too, just not as much as Bitcoin. Now some of them maybe lost even more, but when you average them all out, the bot's doing really good in terms of making money. But that's not the bigger point. The bigger point is beside that, even if you're looking at, let me go back to here, even if you're looking at earnings, and this goes in the red like mine was yesterday, it doesn't matter as long as I'm getting more and more orders in. I'm going to go back to that one more time. As long as I'm getting more and more open orders, if you believe as I do that the day will come where this market will be mushrooming like the internet boom did, you want as many open orders as you can have. Even if they're 20, 30% down now, if you believe that it's going to mushroom, those are going to be worth 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, and some of them 10 times what they are now before the bubble bursts. And by the way, there are good bubbles and there are bad bubbles. If you look back at the internet boom, that was a good bubble. Why was it a good bubble? Because It focused people's energy and resources and time and money, created Silicon Valley. And even though it went bust in the early 2000s or whenever that was, and everyone cried when it went bust after it had mushroomed massively, that's what booms do. Like that's what the railroads did, the railroad industry in the 19th century. Same thing. Like, and it went boom and people made a fortune, then it went bust, and a lot of people lost the fortune if they joined late. But we're nowhere close to that if you look at cycles and you listen to experts. Again, my opinion, you got to come to these decisions on your own. So if you compare where we're at right now in terms of money and resources in this boom, we're at the very, very bottom still compared to where the internet boom went, and compared to any historical major boom when you look at the growth and the curve. And a lot of people believe this one's going to just topple every other boom we've ever seen. And so if you believe, as I do, that you're getting in early, 20 or 30% down even on some of these coins right now, doesn't matter. What you want is as many open orders as you can have. So as it starts to exponentially boom, you got all these orders turning into the green. So check this out. If right now I have about the same amount or even a little less Bitcoin than I started with, I actually have a little bit more, but let's just say I even had a little bit less Bitcoin than I started with in total, but I have more open orders. When those go up, when it goes boom, it's going to be an incredible windfall. So I want as many open orders in the red as I can get. I mean, obviously, ideal, you just be making green, making green, making green, but that's ridiculous to expect that. What's happening here is you're given a tool and a resource to manage massive numbers of micro trades that you get to make just a little bit on each one. And if it can just hold even close to the amount of Bitcoin that you started with, like again, coming back to my earnings section, if it can, like mine has in 10 days, if I can keep this up and even just hold anywhere close, even if it's a little less Bitcoin than I started with, but at the same time, I'm stacking open orders. Are you getting this? If I'm stacking open orders while that's happening, while I basically am holding around the same amount of Bitcoin that I started with, if I'm getting more and more open orders at the same time I'm able to maintain the amount of Bitcoin I started with, when this goes boom, there's a financial windfall because all of these are going to turn green that are still open right now in the red. Man, I hope you get that. That's why I get frustrated sometimes when I see people posting like negativity about the bot. Like when I was first learning about the bot, I was frustrated to see the reds because I was immature and didn't understand, as a trader, didn't understand what was going on. It's taught me so fast. That was just 10 days ago. It's already taught me so much about trading, like even without the bot. So that's number one. It's amazing as an educational tool to teach maturity as a trader. Number two, the reason why I get frustrated though with other people that are not understanding, you know, because I didn't understand either, is the way that there's so much like negative tone in the way that they express it. Like even when I was in doubt and like feeling confused and like I'm losing with the bot and I didn't learn and understand all the power of this that I just explained, the huge, magnificent power of it, before I understood that, I still feel like, there's probably something to this I'm missing. I had a different attitude about it. And that's what I want people to have. You know, when you see something that you don't understand or you feel like you're losing and other people are winning, hold your head up high and get your questions answered and speak in a positive tone as you frame your questions. Otherwise, it's just negative crap and it's just not fun to be around. So, I mean, like I get how people don't understand what's going on, but be positive and frame your question in a positive mood, you know, when you share that and go through your learning. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope you get it because it's huge. And if you don't, like keep trying to figure out what I just said. Listen to it again. Understand. Think of it this way. If you could have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of open orders in the red, some of them lost 5%, some of them lost 10%, some of them lost 20% against Bitcoin. You've got hundreds of them. And you have about the same amount of Bitcoin, maybe even a little bit less than you started with. What's going to happen when they go green? Now, how do you know they're going to go green? That's for you to decide if you believe that we're at the beginning of a boom. If we're at the beginning of a boom, then it's a financial windfall if you have open orders that all go green. You want as many open orders as you can stack up before that happens. I hope this helps.